Good morning, UUSS. Join with us this morning in body or spirit, rising to sing Morning Has Come. Morning has come, arise and greet the day. Dance with joy and sing a song of gladness. The light of hope shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. A new day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder fills this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love it shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning. Welcome to our Sunday service. I am Andy Cramer, one of your worship associates. You may notice that some key people are missing. Reverend Roger and Reverend Lucy are out of town today. We are very fortunate to have Reverend Sangye Hawke with us this morning. Her sermon is entitled, "The Freedom of Uncertainty." Reverend Sangye is the minister for Sierra Foothills Unitarian Universalists in Auburn. As a former longtime member of that congregation, I'm pleased to welcome Reverend Sangye back to UUSS. With her this morning is Mercedes McWilliams from SFUU and Christina Cleveland is pitch hitting for us. You, of course, know her. And as usual, we have Anthony and Irina with us to make music. Whether you are with us online or in person, we're glad that you're here. If you're here in person, we hope you stay after the service for conversation and refreshments. If you're here on Zoom, after the service is a breakout session in which you can meet a few other people. There are links to the order of service and the Blue Sheet calendar posted on our website and in the Zoom chat, so you can follow along this morning and find out what's coming up. If you're new to UUSS, we invite you to fill out a newcomer's form to tell us about yourself and enable us to send you email messages about our activities. I'd like to highlight a few things happening after the service. The series Exploring Unitarian Universalism is at noon in the Foz room. This morning, the focus is social justice. There's a table on the patio for UU the Vote. There's only 1 month to write and send 3,000 postcards, so stop by the table if you can help. Also on the patio, there's a table for Soul Matters registration. After the service, you can register for Soul Matters and have your questions answered. And lastly, the People of Color Caucus will be meeting today at 11:45 in room 9. Notice room 9 is a new location for them. At this time, I invite Michael to come up for a brief announcement.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Michael Feliciano, and I'm here this morning on behalf of the UUSS Program Council. You know, the best way to make friends here at UUSS is to join an activity group. Lucky for you, the activity fair is coming up on Sunday, September 7th, after our annual in-gathering service. Join us on the patio directly after service and learn about the many different groups that you can participate in here at UUSS. And speaking of groups, I happen to be the co-founder of the UUSS Men's Group. And if you identify as male, please consider coming to the UUSS Men's Groups. We have 2 meetings every month, both here on campus. We meet on the first Thursday evening at 6:30 p.m. and the third Sunday of each month directly after service. You can find more information about everything I just mentioned on the UUSS website. Have a great day.
If you haven't already done so, turn off the alarms and chimes on your cell phone and on your smartwatch. Thank you. We acknowledge that UUSS exists on the occupied ancestral territory of the Nisenan, Southern Maidu, and Miwok peoples. We wish to pay our respects to their ancestors, elders, and relatives, and to affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples. Now, let us receive the music for centering.
Our chalice lighting this morning is a responsorial, so please respond with the words that are hopefully behind me. In a time of uncertainty, when everything around us is changing constantly, each day, new developments, rising numbers, changing guidelines. When the world we live in suddenly seems upside down and topsy-turvy, we light our chalice to remind ourselves of our grounding in our faith. We remember that the flaming chalice came into being as a beacon of hope during World War II, a secret symbol that offered help. In the midst of it all, we wrap ourselves in the warm light of a familiar flame, a reminder of the strength that emerges when we come together in community.
Thank you.
We come together in community, and sometimes amidst that community, we also then separate for a time. This is that time for all those involved in RE, children and adult. So if you would make your way out to Crystal in the doorway, as we all together sing your song. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Don't give up hope. Don't give up hope. You're not alone. You're not alone. Don't you give up. Don't you give up. Keep moving on. Keep moving on. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. You gotta put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. Put one foot in front of the other and lead with love. And lead with love. And lead with love.
It's time for compassion. Yeah.
Next, we light our candle of compassion and resistance. In these times of disruption and anxiety, when cruelty is on display in our country, this flame is a reminder to bear witness to human decency, dignity, and freedom. I offer you this reading from Galatians 5, verses 13 to 14. For you were called to freedom, brothers and sisters. Only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for self-indulgence, but through love, become slaves to one another. For the whole law is summed up in a single commandment. You shall love your neighbor as yourself.
Good morning, everyone. I see so many different faces here today, and some are familiar and some are new. Many are new. My name is Reverend Sangye Hawke. I am the lead minister of Sierra Foothills Unitarian Universalists, just up the road a piece. And I am so absolutely thrilled to be back here. I served this congregation as a student minister before the pandemic, and then this congregation ordained me. This is the stole that your craft club created for me. I invite you to come up and look at it, touch it. You know you want to. But this congregation is dear to my heart. And so as a part of our joys and sorrows today, I'm sharing this joy that I have for being here with you today. But also to remind you that joys and sorrows is what brings our community together. We cannot go through these times alone. In the face of tyranny, our resistance is having each other. And this is one way to do it. Now, because there are so many of you, we don't do stones or water, but we do share some news as they come in through the gift of the internet. And I invite the people on Zoom to share in the chat their joys and sorrows at this moment, while I read some of the few requests that have come in from the email. The first one is the original person scheduled to be with me today, Amanda Gatewood, a member of this church, hurt her back. So let us pray for her speedy healing. And then Renee and Ted Scott from Manila are requesting prayers for Oscar, the father of Savo's partner, Alexis. He just learned that chemotherapy for his bone cancer is not working anymore. He now starts nuclear radiation and has daily pain. So, prayers for Alexis and the family. And now I would like to share a different kind of pastoral prayer with you. We will all do this together. We are going to chant this mantra. You see two versions of it. The first version is the original in Sanskrit. But since I am of the Tibetan Buddhism lineage, we will do the Tibetan version, which is at the bottom, which is Om Mane Padme Hung. It is a prayer of compassion and love, calling in the wisdom of ourselves and the community. So please repeat after me. Om Mane Padme Hung. Now keep saying it. Om Mane Padme Hung. 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 The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people going by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry. Watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll ever know. And let's think to ourselves, what a wonderful world. Think to yourselves, what a wonderful world. Spirit of life and love and spirit of the earth, hold us in your wonder. Forgive us our greed, our disrespect, our disregard for the infinite ways you provide for us. May our love and compassion transform the cruelty, end all that is happening to our family of humanity. Amen.
Invite you to remain in a space of contemplation and reflection as we sing Woyaya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know we will. And we'll get there, heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya. Knowing heaven knows where we are going, but we know it is. And we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya,
Good morning. Hi, my name is Mercedes McWilliams. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a member of SFUU, Sierra Foothills Unitarian, up in Auburn. And it's a pleasure for me to see you guys here today. I'm very honored to be invited to speak to you today. As you can tell, I identify as the Hat Lady. That's how I'm known at my congregation. I have dozens of hats, and it's just kind of my signature. And I thought I'd let you all into my little world here. There you go. Okay, so my speaking today is we are talking about interdependence. And this is my reflection. and I'm going to share it with you. When I was younger, I thought history was something that lived in dusty books, far away from me. But as I grew, I realized history breathes between us every single day. When we speak, when we share space, when we decide whether to turn towards or away from each other, which also led me to believe strength meant doing it all by myself. My mother never said it outright, but I saw it in the way she moved, carrying her burdens in silence, raising children, supporting a husband, working a third shift job so she could be home with us kids during the day, just in case we need her. Cooking pots of food big enough to stretch for a week. That was back there in the 60s, that was the precursor to meal prep. Handle it, she'd say, when life pressed too heavy, and I learned to handle it. Didn't have time to, as they say, diddle daddle. You just handle your whatever problems that you had. But I also noticed something else about her. The way women from the block would gather on her porch in the summer, fanning themselves and passing stories. How when one woman was short on sugar or rice, another would bring a bag without hesitation. The way children, not her own, would find refuge in her kitchen, eating cornbread and her famous mac and cheese as though it was home. It took me years to understand that was interdependence, not weakness, not neediness, but a weaving, a quilt made from many hands. Now, as a Black woman in my own right, I carry those lessons. The world still tries to convince me that I have to be unbreakable, the strong Black woman who bends but never asks for help. But I'm unlearning that myth now. Because truth is, my survival, my joy, even my breath are tied to others. When my sister calls me after midnight, sobbing because the world is too loud, I listen. And when I feel my spirit is slipping, I know I can lean on her too. When I braid my niece's hair, I remember the hands that once braided mine. When I sit in a circle with my girlfriends, sharing food, laughter, prayer, I feel the pulse of something ancient. Our survival has always been collective. Interdependence is not just survival, it's thriving, is how we resist isolation, is how we heal, is how my mother could carry so much, but she was never carrying it alone, even when she didn't say it. I think about the vegetable garden in our backyard. I helped my mother plant and tend to her garden of collard greens, tomatoes, cucumbers, and green peppers. But once I saw how well the garden flourished, I wanted a little plot of my own, or maybe I should say my own little section set apart from hers. So we planted it together one spring. I planted mustard greens and turnip greens because those were my preferences in the greens family, and one little tomato plant. At first, I tried to make our rows separate. I only watered my own. My turnip greens and one tomato plant with my newly acquired skills, but the soil had its own way of teaching me a valuable lesson. The roots tangled underneath, invisible but inseparable. The water I poured for one plant fed them all. Don't get me wrong, there was no competition going on between me and my mother. It was simply trying to prove I can do this on my own, independently. I was handling it. In retrospect, that garden was teaching me something about interdependence across race. The truth is, none of us stands alone. The music of this country was born from our blended hands. African rhythms, European strings, indigenous drums, Latin beats, all pulsing into the body of sound. The food on our tables, the buildings in our cities, the words in our mouths, all of it is evidence of people surviving and creating together, even when we were told we should be divided. Of course, it's not simple. Interdependence doesn't erase the scars of exploitation or the weight of injustice. It doesn't pretend that all hands have been held equally or kindly, but it does remind me that healing comes when we acknowledge both the harm and the possibility. Just like in the garden, sometimes one plant struggles while another flourishes. But if we tend the soil together, both can thrive. I believe that's the work before us. To see how deeply our lives are already braided and to choose to honor that braiding with care. Interdependence is not charity, it's truth. My liberation is bound up with yours. My nieces and nephews' futures are tied to your children's futures. And the garden we're tending will only grow if we remember that the roots are shared. I don't call it weakness when I lean. I call it trust. I call it community. I call it the very heartbeat of being alive. So when I say, I need you, it's not from weakness, it's from wisdom, because you need me too. Thank you.
Generosity is a spiritual practice. This congregation has a practice of giving away half of each Sunday's offering to an organization that is working to make a difference in the world. Our community partner for the month of August is Loaves and Fishes, this area's largest service provider for unhoused people. For over 4 decades, Loaves and Fishes has offered hot meals, survival supplies, and essential services to nearly 1,000 adults and children each day. On the 4th Monday morning each month, volunteers from UUSS assist with meal preparation and service at Loaves and Fishes. If you're interested in participating, visit the connections table or our church website. Loaves and Fishes operates the Mustard Seed School, which provides community and continuity for children whose families have lost their housing. Mustard Seed's program director told us that a kindergartner who is living with her dad in their car now has a safe place to shower, change her clothes, and start her day feeling refreshed and ready. When she first arrived, she didn't even know how to play. The outdoor classroom has opened up a world of imagination and friendship for her, allowing her to have fun with other children her age. Thank you for your generosity to UUSS and our community partner. This morning's offering will now be given and received. Thank you, Irina. As the greeters bring forward the offering, please join me in saying the unison words. May generosity bless our world, and may gratitude nourish our spirits.
That was lovely, wasn't it? Oh. I am so glad to be here today with the congregation that ordained me 4 years ago. You expressed trust and faith in me during a time of terrible uncertainty, the year 2021, only 1 year after the COVID pandemic began. Life felt so upended, and those times we all thought it was the end of the world. Now, look at us. We're all back to our lives, but with some wisdom from the event. Today, we are now bombarded by this constant narrative of systemic collapse, injustice, disruption, and we are told the end of our democracy. The narratives fiercely remind us that we are, as a species, headed towards extinction at warp speed. The uncertainty of tomorrow feels very real. But is it really? Is it possible that the fear of uncertainty is worse than the truth of the moment or the eventual future? Our feelings are the feelings of isolation and the actions we take for self-preservation contributing to the acceleration of our own breakdown. The harder we work to shield ourselves from an uncertain future, the further away and more difficult such a task seems to be. How can we find freedom from this tyranny of fear and loneliness? Believe it or not, these times of uncertainty can offer some freedom. But what does that look like? How does our faith work to help us identify and live in this roller coaster era? Well, first of all, we're a living tradition. That means we built into our faith the capacity for change over time. In case any of you don't know, it is built into the Unitarian Universalist Association's bylaws that we must undergo scrutiny of our faith system every 15 years. We do this to remain relevant as generations and faith culture undergo transformation. And what does transformation mean? By the way, that's the T in our new acronym, JETPIG. How does transformation work in our current value system? How does any of it apply? Indeed, justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, and generosity. And if you were my congregation, I would have had you recite that, but I'm visiting today. How do these help us in coping with our current and daily fear? I'm sure many of you are aware of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. It's a principle that was created to actually describe quantum physics and quantum action. Because particles move, disappear, pop up randomly, and we can't seem to measure them. Darn it, we can't pin them down. How dare they? But the short version is we can't predict what particles are going to do next. It kind of sounds like a congregation, doesn't it? Can't predict what we do next. But the closest analogy we have in the natural world is waves. No one single wave is the same when we stand in the ocean. And, well, that's the natural world. It's normal to be in this unpredictable, uncertain state. And if that feels uncomfortable, well, that's where we start our exploration into transformation. Think about human beings. Now, in my primary faith system, Tibetan Buddhism, we believe that there are 4 noble truths. The truth of suffering, the truth of the origin of suffering, the truth of following a path, the truth of the cessation of suffering by following a path. Short version, we move in cycles, we move in waves of self-created suffering. Climate change is an example of that. Unitarian Universalism strives to bring the nature of cyclicity, the nature of ebb and flow, into the faith process because it's a responsible search for truth and meaning. And we do that by recognizing that when we keep love at the center of all of our actions, we can achieve justice, equity, and transformation of ourselves. Our faith, like Buddhism, challenges us to live right now. We are faced with the unknown. Uncertainty presents us with the truth of not being in control. Uncertainty represents our deep fear of not knowing our future and our place in that future, and in particular, all around our fear of death. Death is the ultimate unknown. Death comes to all of us, but we don't want to face it without feeling certain that we know our own outcome. We want to control the very last minutes of our existence, but we can't. We cannot predict our own outcome when we're going to die. Thank you, Heisenberg. It's an amazing the amount of time and effort we put into pursuing and preserving control over our own lives. And the narratives we tell ourselves, they create even more anxiety. Let me tell you a story. About 1 million years ago, I was training in sparring, and my teacher believed in street sparring, which means no gear. Well, his belief was if you're in the middle of a fight, you can't go, wait, I got to go put on my mouth guard. No, you have to be in the moment, on. Well, I was paired with this really big person and kind of angry because I wouldn't let him get near me. I was moving around as he was just, trying to get in there. And he got really frustrated, and all I could imagine was if he got any closer, I would die. So I even had sound effects in my head as I'm maneuvering around his ginormous fists. They seem like melons coming at me in slow-mo, woo. And finally, my sparring partner got frustrated, but before both of us could stop and talk about it, my teacher came over and said, "What's your problem?" I went, "Huh? Me?" He says, "Yeah, what are you afraid of?" I hesitated and said very quietly, "Of being hit." Suddenly, my teacher hit me. "Well, what did you notice?" That was his favorite phrase. I just stood there blinking. It didn't hurt as much as I thought. My teacher smiled, tapped his temple. "We are our worst enemy." "Change your perspective," he says to me. "It's just as easy as imagining the worst." We fear loss and refuse to accept what we view as acceptance of the situation because we confuse acceptance with resignation and ultimately failure, and failure is loss. We confirm our fear of losing our lives by telling ourselves stories so that we are always living in our imagined future and never truly seeing the moment, greeting it with our best abilities. When we pursue justice and equity, we sometimes can fear the conflict that happens when people do not agree on what is justice, what is equity, what is the world, what is humanity. We get, in the words of Buddhist teacher Pema Chodron, all stirred up, making us blind to the actual truth of the moment, of what is happening as conflict arises between each other or a stranger. And it's hard to be generous towards that person or situation that is making us afraid, angry, sad, or even horrified. So it is here that we go to the love in the center. And we must reside in the love at that moment. And we start here in ourselves. It's very much like a recovery process where we need to acknowledge that we are stirred up and pause. That moment is vital. It creates calm. We learn not to make conflict and terror just about us, our feelings, but we see that there is so much more to the situation that needs to be addressed that has nothing to do with us. That is true wisdom in the moment, what Buddhism calls samadhi, or awareness. It is not just about us. The most important part about this experience in the moment is also to practice generosity towards ourselves when we do experience that messy stirring up, and through that understanding, we gain some empathy towards the actions happening around us, towards the folk involved in the crisis. And then we create enough space to generate the capacity to act. It is here that the T in JetPig, or the transformation aspect of our faith, occurs within us. We see the interdependence of the system and the people. We see that we are alike, but also our differences help us build a better place. That is why JetPig values are seen as a flower, because you are flowering when you practice these values. When you are faced with fear and anguish of uncertainty, remember to breathe. Take a moment to check in with yourself. Give yourself a little love at that center. In Buddhism, it's known as practicing the 3 difficulties: acknowledging your mental process, change the way you engage with your mental responses, and continue to do that each time. But also remember, it's normal to feel anxiety and fear in waves. And that's why you keep practicing, because when the wave comes at you, you can either get knocked down or you can go under. Engaging with emotions behind the responses we have to as humans, recognizing that we can choose to respond differently, breaks that cycle of fear, like death, and we reevaluate our discomfort. Getting hit doesn't hurt as much as you think. And most especially, we stop clinging to a narrative in the past that no longer applies. As churching and church systems shift and change with politics, demographics, climate, this flexibility, this pluralism, the P in JetPig, is also one of our tools to help navigate these flaring emotions. Multiple ways of viewing the method under which we can find a solution. Pluralism opens up our minds to new ways of thinking. That is how we transform and change. That is how we liberate ourselves from the tyranny of the false narrative, the illusions of control, and fully greet the moment in love. And through this love, we can ride the waves of any roller coaster in our life. When we are free in the moment, we can help others also become free. And that is liberation. So if you are feeling society is on the brink of collapse, look to the sources of ancient knowledge. We have 6 of them in Unitarian Universalism. Look to our archaeologic history. Take a pluralistic view of faith as a living, breathing spirit. Embrace the ideas that perhaps maybe each creature, each mountain, each tree is alive. Read about interdependence with our ecology, mycelium. Create local groups of community connection. We are more than a set of systems reliant on consumer goods or hoarding resources. We are not people unable to help each other. For me, I like to think about how many times in history we as a species greeted what we thought were the end days. As we uncover truths in our ancient past, we discover and reconnect with the beauty of the present life. That is what it means to be a living tradition. We will survive this roller coaster, maybe even hold up our hands as we ride downwards. So let's practice. Let's do the wave. So y'all know how to do it, those of you who've been to sports games. This side stands up and sits down, and then this side stands up and sits down, and then this side stands up and sits down, and then this side stands up and sits down. Are you ready? Stand up, hey, and sit down, yay, and sit down, and yo, and sit down. Hey, you did it! You survived the wave. Have hope. Don't despair. We will be okay. We have the capacity to be okay. Thank you.
Feeling some inspiration. Let's sing the fire of commitment.
Please join me in speaking together these words as we extinguish the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but we carry the light, love, and commitment of this gathering into the days to come.
The world is what you make it. The world is what
You make it, how you see it, and how you build it. It is never too late to start something. We may feel tired, we may feel burdened, but when we love and connect with others around us, we become part of something larger than ourselves. That is how we fight tyranny, that is how we fight fear, that is how we gain freedom. So go out there, people, and make a world, as Louis Armstrong says, what a wonderful world. Thank you.